What if everything you've been told about success was wrong? For years, we've been sold the myth that the only way to succeed is to do more, work harder, grind longer, carry it all. But let me ask you something. At what cost? How many late nights, missed moments, exhausting mornings have you justified in the name of getting ahead, in the name of career success? Today, we'll be rewriting that story, because when you focus on what truly matters and let go of the rest, everything changes. And I want to hear from you. What is the one task that you do every day that you wish you didn't do? Drop it in the chat. And while you're doing that, let me go ahead and make sure we are successfully streaming. Let's see. Let me pull up my LinkedIn page. For fun fact, for those of you who are not used to streaming, there is a lag between going live on different platforms. So it goes on LinkedIn at a different time, it goes on YouTube at a different time, and it goes on Facebook at a different time. All right, we're officially live. Welcome. One of the things that I've had to learn the hard way is to decide to let go and decide what kind of life I wanted for myself. And what happens when we don't is there's burnout, overwhelm, and we miss out on the life that we're actually working so hard for. But it doesn't have to be that way. And today we're talking about something that every high achieving, high performing, driven person needs, but few actually implement. And that's how to lead without losing ourselves in the process. So by the end of this conversation today, I want you to walk away knowing a few things. So first, how to overcome those mental blocks that keep us from asking for help. Been there, done that. What tasks you can start outsourcing today to reclaim your time and energy. And how to build a partnership with an executive assistant that actually makes your life easier, not more complicated. Trust me, I know the idea of giving someone part of your life away, it's really hard. And you have to make sure personalities blend and systems are in place. I get it. I've been there. I've done it. And I want to share you all the learning lessons and secrets. Because leadership, success, careers, it's not about us doing it all. It's about making sure that the right things get done. For those of you who are parents, you know what I'm talking about. And to help us break this down today, I have a very special gift. Gosh, I am giving a sneak peek to who she is. I have a very special guest. Her name is Giftstar Joseph, and she's joining us today. So let me bring her on stage. Woo! Welcome, Giftstar.
Yeah, welcome, Tina.
So, yes, I'm so glad you could join. So for all of those of you who are tuning in, Giftstar comes to us from a healthcare background, ironically enough. And you may be thinking, like, how does healthcare relate to executive assistant? Well, she saw firsthand what happens when high achievers push too hard for too long. And that experience led her to become an executive admin, where she now helps leaders like us create more balance, more structure, more clarity in their work and life. So today, Giftstar, you get to help us learn how to shift our mindset around delegation and outsourcing, shed some light on some of the biggest mistakes we make when hiring an executive assistant, and how the right system can actually help us avoid those nasty things like burnout, so we can enjoy our life, our families, our success. So thank you so much for joining this conversation. And I would love to jump things off or start things off with, what was the moment that you realized that successful people were burning out, not because they lack skills or drive, right? Like, we know we have that, but because they were trying to get too much done alone?
All right, so thank you very much, Tiga, for this opportunity, and I also want to thank everyone that is listening. So, concerning your question, like you said, I'm coming from a healthcare background. I'm a nurse. I studied nursing and microbiology, so I was opportune to, do my clinicals in a high profile clinic where we have these executive leaders and high profile individuals visit the clinic. And one of the strategic things and one of the things I observed is that of these individuals, the executive leaders, those that that have companies, that have empires, I observe that most of them are burnt out. They have this stress-related illness, and also it causes and some of this stress-related illness and burnout also causes problems, broken relationship. So I started diving in to know what is actually the problem. One of the strategic things that happened was one of my friends who had a spouse that is a high profile executive had to come down with an illness. And I can remember the day she came to the hospital, she was just shouting and saying, he doesn't sleep, he spends his time at work, he does not have time for the family, and we've been having issues. He does not eat well, he does not sleep well, So that particular day had to, make me to dive into, what is the problem? Why is it that most of the patients that visit the hospital, the executive leaders are always the ones that come down with this stress-related illness, that come down with broken relationship? So that was the thing that made me to launch my executive firm. Now
Oh
I
my
find,
gosh, that's so traumatic. I mean, could
yeah,
you imagine someone you love so much working so hard and then end up
yeah,
hospitalized for their efforts? I think it's because in the world that we live in, doing it all, it's
yeah,
glorified, especially
yeah,
for so there's cultural differences, right? And so in some cultures, the man's supposed to do it all. He's supposed to be the provider. He's supposed to take care of his family and work really hard. And in some cultures, women are supposed to be like women finally have the opportunity to have careers and build empires themselves, but are also the primary caregiver of their family, their aging loved ones, all of the appointments, all of this stuff. It's just there's just so much, and the irony is that when we look at the most successful people, they're not doing it all. They have a marketing team that keeps up with their social. They have stylists that pick out their clothes, private chefs who make their meals. Um,
yeah,
and I know that you've worked with leaders who were on the verge of burnout and trying to juggle everything. But once they got support, it shifted. And you see that shift. And that was the neatest thing when we were having our initial conversation, that's part of your why. That's what makes you so fulfilled in your career. So why don't we start there? Like, what is the first sign way before someone ends up in a hospital that someone is doing too much, that they need to delegate some things off their plate way before the traumatic stuff happens?
okay, so one of the signs is mental and physical stress. When you see an executive who is always agitated, the anxiety level is high, he's always worried, depressed, irritable, impatient, short temper, those are the signs. Someone, okay, when we come to the relationship and family, we see someone that is always isolated, lonely, has emotional distress. These are the signs that you can see that someone, is going through that stressed stressor in his or her life. So also we also see, lack of purpose, feeling of emptiness, some other, it comes down to datiness, environmental datiness, lack of self-care. They cannot care, they cannot take care of themselves, they don't have self-compassion for themselves, they are not kind to themselves, they feel they want to achieve all at the same time. So these are the factors when you see poor performance at work, for students, you also see them for the executives that are also studying, you see poor performance. We also see emotional disconnection, gaps from spouse because they overextending themselves, and you see them miss opportunities in family and family anniversaries, children events, dinner dates, neglecting relationships. This can cause resentment in partners due to constant stress and long hours. So we also see marital crisis because it has been observed that most of these executives, always have marital crisis that leads to divorce because they work longer hours. They don't have time for the spouse. They don't have time for their health. So these are the signs that we can see in an executive and we say that the person is going through work-life imbalance before the person can even go to the chronic side of coming to the hospital with sickness and diseases.
And I feel like people who are experiencing those types of symptoms, they know, they hear it, they're told, like, delegate more. But then
Yeah.
comes the excuses, like, no one can do what I can do, or I can do it faster myself, or it takes too much time to train someone. So those are huge mental blocks that are holding people back from getting help. You know, the way
Yeah.
that I was raised, it's, you're the person who's supposed to have everything done in the house, the cooking, the cleaning, the yard, the gardening, the kids, the sporting events, the everything. But I'm also ambitious and run a multi six figure business. And so there's only so much time in the day. And I remember when I first got help in the house, getting a cleaning service. And at the holidays, people are like, you really trust someone else in your house? Like, why can't you do it? And it's like, why would I do it? Like, if it gives me more time to spend with the people that I love, or to bring more income in and impact more people's lives, why would I be like scrubbing a toilet that my son, drips all over? It's like, no, my time can be used differently. And like, so that was a mental block for me. So what are some of the mental blocks that you see when people are trying to decide, like, should I do this or should I not? And once they push past that mental block, what do you see happens? What do they gain from it?
Okay. All right. So one of the benefits, like what you said, delegation and outsourcing is very important. Even as mothers, we know how to delegate and outsource some of the things we clean in the house because once we have someone doing that, it makes us to, channel our time to high impact and high strategic things that will bring, success and productivity at home. So the same thing at work place. There are some of these things, that takes the hours of these executives, like admin work, like email, calendar, travel, and every other thing. So once these are outsourced and delegated, the benefit is that it increases productivity. I've worked with many executives and clients say that they couldn't let do some of these tasks because they feel they could do it by themselves. They felt that it would take a lot of time for the person they are sourcing to, which is an executive assistant, to start understanding their preferences. But I've worked with so many executives who said, "Oh, I finished outsourcing this. It didn't take long. The person had to get along, and my productivity has increased." So one of the benefits is your productivity increases, you reduce stress, and there's time rotation and prioritization. So you use your time for high impact decision rather than using the time. Have you even to imagine how many hours it takes us for us to, do this admin stuff? Let's say we take 5 hours in a week, and you're an executive that earns $500 per hour. Calculate $500 per hour with the list of 5 hours. I know most of that takes more than 5 hours in a week. You will see the type of money you are losing and channeling that energy and time into making high strategic and impact decisions that will advance your company. So another benefit is that you have satisfied life. So this burnout that leads to sickness and diseases, that leads to relationship issue, you only do it because you already outsourced this particular task or those tasks to someone that is taking care of it. So it will give you room to have time, for family, to go for that dinner date. You know that someone is actually doing the work behind the scene. I always advise and encourage executives to have an on-site executive assistant, also have a virtual executive assistant works around the clock globally to ensure that when you are sleeping, when you are having time with your family members, or when the on-site executive assistant has gone home, because she also has to observe work-life balance so that she doesn't burn out. You have someone virtually that is handling those tasks. So it helps in innovation, promotes happiness, and you have this feel good hormone. There's this hormone we call the feel good hormone that makes you to be optimistic, positive, and productive. So it strengthens your relationship and it prevents mental and physical drainage, helps in efficiency and focus and decision making. And finally, it helps in improved communication and emotional intimacy. Because the reason why we are talking about this is that many executives have have had this high rate of divorce. So when you outsource and delegate this thing, you see that you have a balanced leadership, not just at work, but also a better life at home. Thank you.
My DMs are blowing up right now with people who don't want to comment live because this is a sensitive and really personal topic. Like, yeah, I've been stressed out. I've been feeling that way. I don't know when the last time I had dinner with my kids was. I never get to go to sporting events because I'm working on weekends to try to get this promotion or not lose my job with all this economic uncertainty. People are feeling this right now, and I'm beyond empathetic to it. Like I remember when I first started outsourcing, it felt like a trust fall. Like you know how when you have to stand up and just like fall backwards and people catch you? Not where I came from. No, we don't do crazy stuff like that. And then it was like I wasn't even sure of what to let go. So for someone who's watching this, who's like, I don't even know where to start, what are some easy wins to build confidence of having a partnership with an admin? Like, is it, doing the grocery order each week, or is it setting up annual appointments, or I don't know, like what would you say is like an easy thing, a low risk task that you could outsource just to kind of get in the feel of what you can outsource, what necessarily you wouldn't feel comfortable outsourcing just yet?
So, executive have their unique needs and unique demands. So, but mostly as an expert executive assistant with an executive firm who has worked for so many years, some of the things that executive assistants have sources are number one, admin work, like you know, for someone that has not had an executive assistant, working with him. So one of the things he can start outsourcing is, inbox management. So you have to start with that to gain trust, because I've also had clients that I worked with that were skeptical, that didn't want to, outsource this task. And when the VA or when the virtual executive assistant was trained and the person started with inbox management, the person was excited. Oh, she can do it. So it graduated to, calendar coordination, and, some of them even went down to, their investors documentation and um, investors documentation. Yeah, some of them even went further to give it to the VAs or to the virtual executive assistant to coordinate. Some also give this responsibility of team coordination in an organization. So these are some of the things an executive can outsource. Research, you can also give out research, delegate research materials for this executive assistant, to find some things. Some also travel, booking your flights and other itineraries, hotel accommodation, and every other thing that is needed for your travel. So it differs depending on the need of the particular executive. So these
Yeah.
are the things I can say that the admin things that an executive can, outsource or delegate to a virtual assistant or a virtual executive assistant.
I think you bring up a really good point that everybody's needs are different. So it's really important for us to know what our needs are. One of the things that I did for a week is I journaled every single task that I did. I got up, I let the dog out, all the way through like every little thing that I did. And then I figured out, what would I feel comfortable outsourcing? What are the things that I dislike doing the most? Dishes is one of them. And in this phase of life, we have a nanny. We can't be in all places at the same time. School ends before the average workday ends. Lots of people use daycares, but lots of people are in areas like myself where we need to have some help at home because there's not enough room in daycares or whatever the case may be. So I have a 6-year-old and I have a 1.5-year-old. And we found someone who was more of like a house manager. My husband's old boss said, like, don't deal with all that nonsense. Get someone who can structure your life around, not just a babysitter. She was like, have them come a couple hours early to prepare healthy snacks and dinner, rotate laundry, et cetera, et cetera. And so for me, that was really easy to outsource that kind of stuff first. Like, I don't want to have to cook dinner when I just was working all day long and I'm starving. Like, it's nice to get done with work and then to just be able to sit down and have snacks or eat dinner with my family without having to think about it. It's
Yeah.
also nice not to have to clean up afterwards. So I can be with my family, be present with my family at sports, practice, lessons, or just like hanging out in the house. So that was easy for me. And then another thing because I have like personal support, but I also have business support. But the average
Yeah.
leader isn't a business owner. They work for an organization. So they need more help on the personal front. Another thing was just getting organized. Like, okay, what appointments have to get made? When are certain shots due? What are the records organized and back up to the cloud? Like, if anything, all of these natural disasters have taught us just getting your documents in order is really helpful. And really good executive assistants already have processes in place. There's a big difference between an admin who's like checking off boxes, having a Trello board or a to-do list or a Monday.com, and they just go through each one and check it off. But executives assistants, they're strategic partners. They anticipate your needs. So they typically have a process. So what is your process for bringing on a new client? Is it an interview? Is it a questionnaire? Is it a combination of both?
Okay, so thank you, Tiga, for explaining that because people actually confuse an administrative assistant with an executive assistant. So, like you said, an executive assistant is someone that anticipates needs. So that particular person is preemptive, is proactive. That means an administrative assistant is someone that once a task is given and she just does that, but an executive assistant is a strategic partner, like you say. So one of the things that you should look out for, when hiring an executive assistant is someone that is strategic, that is a strategic thinker, not just someone that can and that can execute tasks, but someone that is a strategic thinker. So, someone that can prioritize and manage an executive inbox and calendar. So when we talk about a strategic thinker, we talk about someone that can align the business goals, to the everyday tasks so that the bigger picture can be achieved. So that's what we say when someone is a strategic thinker. Quality we should look out for is someone that is a proactive problem solver. You understand? Someone that can solve problem, not anticipate problem, ensure that that the executive does not get the heat of the fire. She has already quenched the fire. So someone that, okay, imagine an executive that is going for a presentation, and an executive assistant is someone that will not even wait for the executive to assign the tasks to her, but she has looked at some of the presentations that were done in the past and organize it and ensure that the executive have, some of the presentation documentation he or she has to use in that presentation, getting the market trends, getting everything that is needed for the presentation, even calling for meetings that will ensure that everything goes seamlessly. So an executive assistant is someone that is a proactive. If you want to understand, it's someone that is preemptive. He plans before any task is given, ensuring that there is nothing that falls through the track. The third thing you should look out for is someone that is discreet and trustworthy. Remember, you are working with an executive that's sensitive. You will have so many confidential information, documentation. So you have to look out for someone that is discreet and trustworthy, somebody that has integrity, someone that is not
That's
just
such a
speaking
big
for
one.
someone that will. Hello?
Yeah, that's such a big one. The integrity, somebody you can feel like you can
Yeah,
trust
yeah,
and get along with.
yeah. Yeah, someone that that is after the money that you have to pay her or him. Not someone that is trustworthy, that like he's a partner, he's not an employee. The person, you know that the person is your partner. So if you can find that, please get that. Another thing is someone that has a technical skill and understand how to optimize executive work. And lastly, very, very important, and that's what my executive firm is all about, someone that understands work-life awareness. To say here that executive assistant does not take in recognize work-life awareness. The person will go out of job. Why? Because if that particular executive is not balanced in his time, in his health, in his relationship, it can affect your pay. So you have to be after the person's work-life awareness, ensuring that it's not just only work in the calendar of this particular executive. You are blocking out time for personal and family or relationship, encounters or relationship get together, like I said, anniversary, event, fitness, things that will make that executive, even the meals, the lunch time of that executive, you are blocking it out. So
And just
if you see someone that,
everybody who's
yeah,
listening in right now needs to just let them do it. Let them protect your calendar. Let them block out for lunch. Let them
yeah,
block out for your birthday. You will thank them. And if
yeah,
you're like, I don't have time for that, they're going to protect your calendar so you do have time for that. I love that you
yeah,
added that in there. Okay, sorry for interrupting you
yeah,
again. I just like, yes, block the calendar, protect the
yeah.
calendar. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So, and executives needs, like I always advise some executives, those that I've worked with, some of them have on-site executive assistants. Let's encourage and advise them during my one-on-one consultation. Always encourage them. If you have an on-site executive assistant, please get a virtual one. Same thing that when you are asleep, when you are having that time, when you are having time with your loved ones, there should be someone that is walking around the clock, ensuring that nothing slips through the crack. Because if you are relying only on your on-site executive assistant, she also needs work-life balance. But if you have someone that is a virtual executive assistant that works when you have off your phone, when you are observing, those family time, that person is working around the clock, ensuring that nothing slips off. So these are the things that you can see: strategic thinker, proactive, problem solver, discreet and trustworthy with integrity, technical skills, and someone that understands work-life awareness. If you see such a person, hire the person. And if you are looking for such a person and you don't know, I have an executive firm where I train these executive assistants on how to, provide all these services. Thank you.
I have a social media post coming up and it's literally of my calendar. So like today, for example, it's Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone.
Yeah,
And
happy wow.
yeah. So like today I got up at 3 a.m. so I could like shower, do my hair, put my makeup on because I knew that this live was happening at 9. Then I got like my family's little like table together. We don't do anything crazy, it's just like a couple of candies, a book, a shirt, like but it's still like getting it like set up, getting it cute, packing all like the teacher gifts because I haven't had time this week. It's been an insane work week. And then, just like starting my workday because I know that eventually it's going to fall off because it's also a half day because Monday's a holiday. It's President's Day, so there's no school. So I'm getting even more blocked in, and that comes with an early start. And it's like these are fun things, but there's also things that you want somebody else to be able to do as well. Like I'm not thinking about my calendar. I'm not thinking I'm going to be in 3 different states next week for work. I'm not thinking about my flights. I'm not thinking about my meals, my rental car, my hotel. All that's been coordinated behind the scenes by someone else, and that's amazing. So I want to be respectful of your time and everybody else who's tuning in. Giftstar, I want to make sure that everybody knows how to reach out to you if they want to explore, working with someone like you. This has been an incredible conversation, and I think a lot of people are thinking like, I need to start making changes. Like let me get started. I've had a couple of messages, and they're like, Tegan, tell me, like, give me it. I know you've got SOP set up. I know you've got templates set up, checklists set up, because like I'm type A like that. Like give them to me so I can have a start. So if you would, I would love for you to close this session out today and leave our audience with one powerful takeaway. So what is the one thing that someone could do today to start leading without losing themselves? What is that one thing that someone could delegate to really get back allowed in their life?
And so, like I said, one thing you can delegate. Before I answer that, I want to say some things. I want to tell you that best leaders don't just lead business; they lead their lives with intention. You don't need to do everything yourself because successful leaders delegate, outsource to focus on work and family. So those things, those we call it shallow tasks, like admin tasks, like inbox management, like calendar scheduling, like running errands, searching in the internet for the best gift you can buy for your wife on this Valentine Day. You don't need to do that. You just need to you just need to
That's
absorb,
the
absorb.
important one.
Yeah, yeah. So give it to an executive assistant, So consider hiring a virtual executive assistant for sustainable success. If you already have one, I will also encourage you to, get a virtual executive assistant. Reason being that there is workload distribution between the on-site executive assistant and the virtual executive assistant, and there's time zone advantage and there is admin focus, you know, there is also increased productivity and it's cost effective. And apart from the on-site executive assistant, there's additional support. So before I go, I have something for the executives that are listening to me. So I have the VIP executives I work with. Actually, I work with so many high-profile executives. The VIP executives I work with, they don't just run business, they run empires. And they don't do it alone. So if you're an executive leader, you don't have an executive assistant already, I will encourage you to get a virtual executive assistant. But if you already have an on-site executive assistant, please get a virtual executive assistant. So if you're serious about stepping into your highest level of leadership, my team and I, we are offering a VIP work-life integration strategy call. All you have to do is to go to my profile, book a one-on-one, consultation with me, and sign up before the end of this meeting because I just have that slot for the first 5 executives
Will you
who
add
will
the
be
link in the
delegating their
comments?
first. All right, so I will do their executive tasks, to me. So that is all I have to say. You don't have to do it alone. I'm going to be adding the link immediately. So, but before I do that, I have to say that successful, success should not come at the cost of your health, well-being, and relationship. Success isn't just a revenue, it's not a title or deal. It's about thriving in all areas of life, in your work, in your relationship, and every other thing. So success at work means little if you have no one to share it with. So if you are succeeding at home, at work, and you are not succeeding at home, you are not a success. So balanced leaders make better leaders. So productivity as an executive leader can skyrocket where you have peace at home. So that's all I have to say. So I'll be sharing my link. So grab the first 5 executive free strategic call for the VIP clients and just delegate just one task. I and my team will be offering our services to you. So thank you, Tika, for
Um,
this
Giftstar, that is
opportunity.
so generous of you. Thank you. So, for
You're
everyone tuning in, if this conversation resonated with you, drop one thing in the chat that you are going to delegate this week. Just one thing. It could be personally, it could be professionally, and don't overthink it. You can have someone start off doing 1 hour a week with you, 5 hours a week with you. It's not like this delegating has to be a huge commitment. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. So, like Giftstar said, success does not have to come at the cost of your happiness, your health. Giftstar, I can't thank you enough for being here today. Oh, I just saw the link. Let me so while I'm streaming, I can't go onto LinkedIn on my desktop. I have to do it from my phone. So as soon as this is over, I am going to drop the link in the comments, so that way you guys can have access to it. So Giftstar, thank you so much for joining me today. Happy Valentine's Day. I hope that you get to do something special with those that you love. And for everyone else tuning in, I will be back next week.